Hello, my name is Susie de Jong, speaker, coach, and author of The Untangling. And this is the Untangling series podcast, where we untangle our own unseen and unspoken chains that bind us to open up the way for us to experience more joy and peace and healing than we ever thought possible. So come and join me. Put on your comfiest clothes, grab a cup of something hot, or maybe even a glass of something bubbly. Put your feet up and let the untangling begin. Welcome to the next episode of the Untangling podcast series. I'm back, everyone, after a hiatus away. And today I'm thrilled to share a conversation with Mona Hecke, who happens to be a lifelong friend of mine. I've actually interviewed Mona twice before over the years, but I think she has so much more wisdom still to offer us. As a qualified naturopath with over 25 years of experience in women's health, she's walked alongside literally thousands of women, navigating the rollercoaster of hormones, aging, and the search for meaning in midlife. Mona shares that her purpose is to help women be informed on how to navigate through life, especially the changes that occur with menopause. At 60 years of age herself, she knows what it feels like when our bodies change in ways we didn't expect. The frustration, the fatigue, and the feeling of being out of control. But as she says in her bio, she also knows the incredible power of nutrition, lifestyle, and mindset to transform your health, restore vitality, and help you thrive. Her passion is helping women discover that menopause is not their enemy. Instead, it's an invitation to simplify life, nourish your body, and reconnect with the joy and purpose that makes these years the most rewarding yet. As Mona states, menopause is the gateway to the next great adventure. Hi everyone, I'm really thrilled to be back with you on the Untangling podcast after a bit of a hiatus. I've probably about 12 months since I did the last one, and lots of things have happened in my life, but that's not what I'm going to talk about today. That'll be for another day. But today I'm really excited to have as my first guest back a dear friend of mine who, I'm going to say we've known each other for about 40 years, which is probably longer than a lot of you have even lived. And it's just wonderful that we still keep in touch. We don't talk all the time, but we know we can just pick up again where we've left off.
Yeah.
And her name is Mona Hecke. And Mona and I met, as I said, quite some time ago when we were both working at Jupiter's Casino on the Gold Coast. And Mona was in PR and I was in HR. And we just became firm friends from there on. And before that, Mona worked in
Radio.
Radio, that's right. Four double G.
4GG.
And after she left the casino, she worked in hospitality for a bit longer and then had a stint in Sydney. And then came back to the Gold Coast and started her family, or continued her family. And from there, had a career change and studied to be a naturopath, and has worked in a variety of roles in that. Which I'll go into a little bit more later, how she's diversified. But the reason that I brought Mona on today is that she is now doing a project called Menopause Makeover. Now, menopause just seems to be everywhere in the media. I don't know whether it's just because I'm at that age I'm noticing it more, or maybe it's just something that's more freely talked about because I was not educated in it at all. My mother didn't share anything with me. I don't think she really understood it either back then. And as I said to Mona when we caught up the other day, it was sort of like something you talk about in hushed tones, like the change of life. Which I didn't really understand what meant. So I thought it would be great to have Mona on and let's talk about some real stuff. Let's talk about our health, how we can improve that, the things that we might be focusing on that aren't quite correct. And yes, so thank you once again, Mona. It's great to have you here. You look amazing.
Thanks for having me, Suze. What an intro. I
Ah, well,
suppose there's 40 years, there's a lot to catch up on, isn't there? We do twist and turn and we do pivot and, find, I think life puts us on different paths for different reasons. And yeah, I think it's easier to go with the flow than it is to fight against the tide, isn't it?
absolutely. So tell me what made you, I guess, pivot into that, the field of becoming a naturopath. What was the
Yeah.
impetus behind it?
I think it was, well, having kids. I think I always wanted to be a mother for as long as I could remember. I always had that nurturing, mothering, in me, even, way before kids. And I always knew that that would be something that would become my life purpose. And then with that became this awareness around what we were doing to our kids, what we're feeding our kids, just having your eyes wide open at supermarkets and marketing and advertising and what we were being bombarded with. As soon as you're pregnant, everyone has advice for you. Everyone tells you what to do and what you should and shouldn't be doing. And, cutting through all that noise, I thought, well, I need to follow um, my own instincts. And I think that's something, your own intuition. We all have it. We all have this inbuilt intuition, and whether you listen to that or not. And I sort of made it my mission that I would not only try and raise my kids as healthy as possible to become, because I believe that happy, healthy children become happy, healthy adults. That's not always the case, but fundamentally, that's what you hope will happen. That will be the transition and the follow on. And, that's where I came to write my little book, The Lunchbox Revolution, which is now, I think, about 15 years old, which
And
is
here it
that.
is. And we're going to talk about that too.
So many households still have that, and I still get approached about that. So, yes, stay tuned. There is an update for that. But that sort of became my purpose. I'm pleased to say all my kids, they love cooking. They're really have healthy palates. They know the difference between what nurtures them and what doesn't. And I think that's a big part of this conversation, moving into that menopause space now, is because my readers and my followers who love the Lunchbox Revolution, they're all older. They're all like me now. They don't have the little kids anymore. Maybe they've got grandkids, and they're moving into a different space. And that's where I'm sort of taking my readers along with me and going, okay, well, now it's time to go, okay, you still need to follow that gut instinct and that intuition about what is best for you and what helps you to thrive. But as you said, menopause is having a massive moment, and it is everywhere. And whether that's the algorithms feeding it to us too, that's going to be part of that, isn't it? The more you tap into those things, the more you're going to get fed. But I think it's the confusion around the information that's available to women. And instead of continually outsourcing everything, we need to start looking within. And I think the message is pretty simple for me. The message is, what brings you joy and purpose? We've lived a long life. We've we've got a lot of experience and wisdom under our belt. Let's start tuning into that and what it is that loves you back. Is it whether it's food or supplements or family or relationships? We need to start looking at what is it that loves us back, and to start letting go of the things that don't, because they're the things that take up space. They're the things that make us sick.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I know that a lot of people, not just women, but also men too, when you get to a certain age, and we talked about this, you sort of look back and you think, bloody hell, there's a big chunk of my life behind me now. I'm not sure how much is in front of me. And that is the time when you start thinking about purpose. And
Yeah.
what is purpose? Well, I've actually defined purpose, because I think that's another thing that there's a lot, like, I've got to find my purpose. What is it?
Yes.
People can get really upset and uptight about it. But to me, a simple definition of purpose is doing what you love and sharing it, whatever that is. Could be baking cakes, it could be
Absolutely.
writing, anything. So, yeah, I think, but it is a big thing that comes up when you get to a certain point in your life.
Especially
So,
when we become empty nesters, when the kids leave home, like that, I found really challenging one by one as they left. I had 3 kids at home and one left, another one left, and the last one left. It's like, whew, okay. And then I looked after my dad until he passed, and then it's like, oh, okay. So you shift that purpose as your life goes on, right? And then all of a sudden you're, sitting by yourself one day and thinking, oh, okay, what do I do now? Or even if you're with a husband or with a partner, it's still, there's still a lot in yourself that needs to be fulfilled in some way, shape, or form. So it is about having some self-reflection and awareness about what is it that brings me joy? What is it that loves me back? What can I let go of now that no longer serves me, that isn't part of my, thriving future? So they're
Mm.
the things, I try and it's interesting how many women you can ask that question to. What is it that brings you joy? What is it that and they just sort of have this blank look and they sort of stare at
Oh,
you and go, oh, I
yeah,
don't
that
know.
was me. That was
Yeah.
me. And I clearly remember the moment because I actually had a nervous breakdown after my dad died. So I
Mm.
think it was about 2016. And obviously I was probably in perimenopause or whatever you want to call it
Yes.
then. So,
Yeah.
and my daughter moved out and it was like, it was suddenly I thought, oh my gosh, my whole life's been about her, which I love and
Yes.
I chose and I
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's not there, and I went, bloody hell, I hadn't thought about that. Like, well,
Mm.
what do I want to do for me? And it was horrible.
No one prepares you for that.
No, actually, I remember saying, I don't know what makes me happy.
Mm.
And that was really upsetting. Of course, that was then, and this is now, and a lot's happened, and I'm very
Yes.
happy. But yeah,
Yes.
it's a big thing, and it's all tied up with that, isn't it? And a lot of the time, it is the
Absolutely.
hormones and the like. You
Yes.
feel like you're going nuts.
But again, the hormones, everyone sort of says, oh, it's the hormones, it's the hormones. And yes, that's part of it. But what initiated that? Something prompted the hormones to behave a certain way. They don't just out of the blue go, oh, I'm just going to cause chaos in your life today. You're going to wake up and you're going to be a hysterical mess. It's that lead up, that stress of those life events of children leaving home, of your parents passing away, relationships changing, things that brought so much purpose into your life, but also a lot of stress. And that stress, then initiates this cascade of inflammation, of, your body not functioning the way it used to. And again, we're not 20 anymore, 25, where your metabolism can keep up with all that, everything works efficiently. But when you get to say 45, 50, in your 50s, when all these changes tend to happen, mainly in your 50s, those stress responses are so different in our body because our metabolism isn't working the same way. So our body responds differently. And I suppose it's a hyper response to what's happening around you. And especially when it's a collision of everything going on at the same time, right? With your daughter leaving, your father part. Yeah. And then trying to find your purpose. Well, who am I? Who am I without all this? Mm.
It's quite confronting.
It is
And then to top it
confronting.
off, realizing that I'd been an anxious person all my life and just thought
Mm.
that that was normal. So you keep pushing it down and pushing it down until,
Yeah,
yeah, the perfect storm comes. But yeah, so
absolutely.
it's recognizing that. And we were talking to, I watched one of your videos and it was really interesting because you were talking about labels that we're seeing out there in the media. And I was actually thinking about this because I studied to be a rapid transformational therapist with a really well-known lady, Marissa Peer, who's British. And she really instilled in me the power that our words have. So I just put a couple of things down before we talk today because she said the words that follow I am follow you. So I am depressed, I am
Mm.
overweight, I am.
Yes.
Words form the structure of your reality. And if you want to change your reality, you need to change your words to match it. And
Absolutely.
another thing that we do, which I'm sure you're going to bring up too, is that we really need to watch the words we use because we say a lot of times in relation to physical, emotional issues, it's an ownership, my anxiety, my hot flushes. And then it becomes part of our identity.
Mhm. Yeah. And
And
some people function on that. That's how some people define themselves and define their life. Yeah. And it's a real worry when that happens because it's such a more difficult path to get out of that, to start changing that, and what is it? What came first? Is it the physical symptoms? Is it the mindset, that went with it? What is it that we need to change first? And in fact, it's, a few things that we need to change together at the same time. And that can be a really difficult path because it's almost like people or women especially, swap their purpose before perimenopause and menopause into a category, or as you said, a label for themselves, because then that becomes their new purpose. Talking about it, treating it, looking for answers, going into discussion groups, that becomes their new purpose rather than looking outside themselves. It's all about themselves. And that can be really dangerous because it does manifest as physical symptoms, and then it just perpetuates it more and more and more. And there are a lot of illnesses that are contributed to our mindset, that, our gut-brain connection really does, travel both ways. And it's really important that we have a look at, what are we feeding our soul, in the form of nutrition and food and activity and relationships and sunshine and all those things. But what is it that we're also feeding back that's creating from our mindset, creating that anxiety, the depression? Is it the fear of the unknown? Is it, well, that's what mainly anxiety is. It's fear of unknown, of something that hasn't happened yet. And we're manifesting all sorts of things around that. So yeah, there's a lot of the physical symptoms and the mindset definitely go hand in hand together. And yeah, when women start defining themselves by their illness and by what is wrong with them, yeah, you can pick it up straight away in their language. As you said, they say, I am. This is who I am now. And yeah, it doesn't have to be that way. And I've been to many lunches. I was in Sydney a few weeks ago for a big menopause luncheon, and it was frightening to see how the specialists, or the people that, you go to listen to, the professionals who you think are there, who are meant to empower you to make better decisions and to improve your health, were literally putting fear into the women in the room, saying that if you don't take HRT by 60, hello, we're both over 60, if you don't take it, that you will have, it is inevitable that you will have heart disease. It's inevitable that you will have osteoporosis. It's inevitable that you'll have, and I looked around the room and I thought, oh my God, like these poor women, they're being scared into it. Now, I have no objection to HRT. If you've done your homework and you feel that that is the best path for you, then, and you have done everything to enable your body to heal and to transition healthily, then that is your choice. That is not for me to judge what you choose to do. But that language, when we talk about the language of who we are, these were professionals who were instilling that language into the women in the room. And I found that frightening.
But it's fear-based.
Absolutely fear-based. There's plenty, menopause is not a lack of HRT. It's like, what is it? Say you have reflux. That's not a deficiency of Nexium. If you compare it to things like that, it's about looking at your life. It's a natural state. We're meant to go through these transitions in our life, and menopause and perimenopause, menopause and postmenopause are one of those transitions. We're not meant to be, as we would like to be, forever young. We are going to age. Our skin is going to change. Our taste buds will change. Our desire for food will change. Our ability to digest alcohol and process that will change. You used to be having raving nights like we used to back in the 80s, right? And we'd go to work the next day and we'd recover because your body has the ability to do that. Well, if you're 55 and you're still drinking a bottle of wine a night, well, it's no wonder you've got hot flushes and brain fog and lethargy. Your body can't metabolize that anymore. So we need to look at what we're doing that we can no longer do.
So, I am a bit naive about menopause, and obviously I've been through it now. Well, maybe not quite, I don't know. But what's the difference between perimenopause and menopause? And post-menopause? Like what's this, in a snapshot, what's the
Yeah.
steps?
Well, perimenopause is, I suppose, the early onset is when you start to have those period changes. I mean, a lot of women think it's just having some symptoms, but it's a bit more than that. It's when you start having menstruation changes. You might skip a few periods. Um, it starts to stop, you know, in that sort of, it's a year sort of lead up to what we call menopause, is when you haven't had your period for a year. And prior to that is when these changes in your menstrual cycle will occur. That would be perimenopause. Now, a lot of women say that those symptoms start to occur in perimenopause. They might get a bit of, flushing. They might get some brain fog or a bit of lethargy. They notice things change in maybe their joints, a bit more achy in your joints. That's usually a big one as well. But again, you need to look at what else are you still living the same life you did before? Are you still eating the foods that don't love you back? Are you, inflamed? What is it that's contributing to that? Are you stressed? Like stress is just a massive one. Cortisol, high adrenaline in our body that doesn't leave the way it's meant to after a crisis situation when we're in fight or flight. So stress is a massive one that contributes to hormonal imbalances. Insulin resistance is something a lot of people hear about, eating a lot of foods that are going to promote too much insulin being dumped into your body, that it's trying to mop up too much glucose or sugar. You're having too many refined carbohydrates. You're relying on those for energy rather than protein and fat. And so as you transition through that perimenopause, you need to start addressing those things. I firmly believe that the type of menopause you have and the symptoms that you experience are dependent on what you do back here. You can't sort of get to menopause and not expect symptoms to happen if you haven't addressed the signs that your body have been telling you, 10 years prior. So, our body does give us lots of hints, whether we're listening to it again, it's that intuitive feeling. How is that making you feel? How is it I used to do that 10, 20 years ago and I can't do it now? I used to, punch tequila shots all night and I was fine. I go to work the next day. Well, I can't do that anymore. I'm that 1, 2, 3 floor. That's how our body responds now. So, we need to have that awareness through perimenopause, because that will make that transition easier. Then menopause is obviously we haven't had a period for 12 months. And that's usually when symptoms will occur, because our adrenals need to take over some of the production of estrogen that we're losing through that process. And then postmenopause is when, we're a few years past that and things start to slow down, our metabolism changes. We go into that I don't give a shit era. Like that's where we start to go,
Oh, I'm there.
I don't care about that anymore. I don't care about that anymore either. But that's how we are meant to, traditionally and culturally, you look at that through the ages, especially the Asian cultures, they do that better than we do. And the French do it too. They're older women, those 60 plus are revered. They're the sages of the community. They're the ones you go to for wisdom and advice. They're still part of the family unit. Western culture, we're not so good at that. We tend to sort of discard us when we get older, and a lot of women will see that in maybe job, discrimination, where they can't get a job after a certain age because employers don't see the future with them. Yet they bring so much to the table and we don't embrace that, not like other cultures do.
I can see that so clearly. And actually, I love that you say we're in that I don't give a damn phase, because I definitely am. This is the first time I've worn makeup in, I'd say, 9 months.
Yeah.
And even though I might look, like I've made a bit of an effort, down the bottom I've got yoga pants and slippers on.
Doesn't
And
matter.
I think with me it was that I was brought up in a way that I was always taught that it mattered what people thought of you. That was a really hard one for me to squash, for me personally. And now I'm at that place. It doesn't mean I don't care about people. I do. I just don't care about what people think of
No,
me.
what
I
they
look
think of you
like.
is
I
none of
don't
your
care.
business.
No,
No.
it's freeing. It's great. I think that's the highlight of getting older for me, has been that,
Yeah.
after 30 something years of going to work every day and having to wear makeup, and then all of a sudden now working from home, I just
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
And
Doesn't
it's,
matter.
it's good for your skin. Let it breathe.
Yeah.
I put on a bit of blush for things like this. I've let go of mascara. I've realized now I've struggled all my life with mascara. It doesn't love me back. Causes all sorts of problems to me. So I've just let that go. I don't buy it. It's one less thing I have to worry about. I think simplifying our life at this age in menopause is something that is really important, without all the clutter. And that doesn't mean furniture and things like that. It means the clutter around you personally about, what is it that causes anxiety in your life that is close to you, and letting go of that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Talk about wisdom. So I just want to touch on what you're doing now. So tell us a little bit about Menopause Makeover and what that
So,
means and where it's going.
yeah. So what I discovered with, being in clinic and seeing a lot of women and, talking to thousands of women as a naturopath now for over 25 years, was that I realized, well before menopause was having this massive moment, that most books and most resources are attributed to one part of menopause. It might be hormones, or it might be stress, or it might be diet, but there's nothing that sort of gave women a guide to go, hey, all these different things matter. Let's go through them. Let's create like a guide that has a checklist on it that allows you to go through and go, hey, have I done this? Have I addressed this? Oh, have I had that test to see, have I had saliva hormones done instead of just the standard blood test? Have I addressed my lymphatic system? Is my garbage disposal system working well? Am I eliminating every day? Is my bowel working properly every day? That's a huge problem, because we need that to be taking out the waste and excess hormones. Liver. What's your liver like? Do you love your liver? Or have you abused your liver a little bit too much and it needs a little bit more loving? So all these things need to be addressed. So I've put together Menopause Makeover as a guide for women to go, hey, this is what menopause is. I go through the hormones and all the different types of hormones. And most women aren't aware that there's different types of estrogen. It's not just one. There's a few, and how they interact with each other is important. I go through the thyroid. I go through the lymphatic system. We go talk about the liver. We talk about the bowel. I then talk about foods and herbs and natural things that you can do that can help manage or balance or stabilize those symptoms that you might be experiencing if those organs aren't working, and what you can do to support it. I give you guides on a meal plan, on what a healthy day looks like, healthy options, why protein is important as we age, all these sort of things, and also some comparisons to other cultures, and why things like the word hot flushes doesn't exist in Japanese, because they don't have menopause like the Western society does. So there's all these different cultural shifts. And I talk about the French as well, the French women, and how their menopause just puts them into another whole sexy category. So, I don't think most women in Australia think menopause is very sexy, but other cultures do. Again, there's, it's a different mindset about how we treat, revere, and look at our women who are going through this incredible transition and what they still have to offer the community. So I talk about all these things in the book. There's about 150 pages. So it's a lot of information, a lot of technical information from my years as a naturopath, to give women the ability to go, yep, I need to do that. Yes, oh, I haven't done that. Maybe that's what, I need to look at, and go from there. When you purchase the book, look, the book's super cheap. It's only an ebook at the moment. It will be available for print on demand soon, but it's only $9.95. So, for 25 years of knowledge, that's pretty cheap. But I don't want women to balk at the price. Economically, people are doing it tough. I don't want women to miss out on things because it's, they're going to be put off by the price. I've also written a program called Midlife Makeover, which you have an option to purchase too at $9.95 if you wanted to. And that is basically a 10-day reset program. Give you all the recipes, the meal plan, but attached to that each day is a reminder of the other things around you that also need to change. So your environment, are you happy with your workplace? What about the cosmetics and the skin products and the household cleaning products that you're using and the impact that that has on your hormones? Because it's massive. Perfume. A lot of women as they age, and I'm one of them, I can't stand the smell of perfume anymore. I can't stand, strong candles anymore. They actually give me heart palpitations. It's something that doesn't love me back and something that I had to take note of and go, okay, I can't do that anymore. So I use essential oils, which are much healthier for you, right? Made from nature. So there's all these things that need to be addressed. So that 10-day program goes into that decluttering your physical, mental, emotional, environmental surroundings. So there's a lot packed into that 10-day program. It's not just a diet plan. This is a 10-day complete reset. And so my hope is to get that out to more and more people. I am updating my website, personal website at the moment, because I also offer DNA testing. So for women who want to take it, or even men who want to take their knowledge about how their body works a little bit further, you can have some DNA testing, and that just helps identify your strengths and weaknesses and what nutrients your body needs to thrive. So it all tied up together. And that way you get all the answers. You're not stabbing in the dark. You're not listening to one conversation. I talk about HRT. I talk about saliva testing. I talk about the alternatives, but you need all the information. Same with mammograms, thermography screening, the alternatives. Most women don't know that that exists. It's a very important part of, keeping your body in check. You don't necessarily have to have mammograms if you feel that that's not right for you. Is it something that loves you back? Thermography is a great way of teaching women about where their lymphatic flow is, or their congestion is, where their inflammation is in their body, leading to the breast area. That's super important. And when we're armed with this knowledge and this information about how our body works and what we can do to stimulate it, manage it, support it, our health is going to be much better in the long run. And of course, what we all want is to live a happy, healthy, long life as independently as possible, with all our faculties intact. I think that's how we'd all like to go. None of us want to end up in the nursing homes, the way old age is looked at today. I certainly don't. That's not where I want to go. Can we change that? I think so. I think when we can, what we call biohack our body, because science, and this is where it's not all hippie and mung bean, there is so much science that we can now lean on that shows us how we can age well. And I don't think there's any reason why we can't, if we can have the capacity to make those changes that we need to. For some people, that can be overwhelming, right? For some women, it can be, oh my God, I've got to do all these things. Well, don't do them all at once. Do little things along the way. And again, about letting go of the stuff that doesn't love you back and do more of the stuff that loves you. And you'll find that those transitions become easier, because subconsciously then your body is going to be programmed and wired to think way ahead of you and go, nah, don't eat that donut, because you're going to feel like shit, half an hour after you eat it. Your blood sugar is going to spike, you're going to crash, and you're going to want another donut just to pick yourself up off the ground. So don't do it. It's that, and that will happen in a split second, where your body makes those choices for you way ahead of you physically even thinking about it.
Well, knowledge is power, isn't it? I mean, it's always been that. And
Absolutely.
taking responsibility for yourself too.
Yes.
Is
Don't
really
hand
important.
over your health to somebody else to say, hey, you need to take this. Well, okay, do I? Can you explain why I need to take it? Can you give me all the scenarios around it? What are the benefits? What are the side effects? We need to ask these questions. We have the ability to do that.
Yeah, that's just amazing. And I will put links to Mona's website and her program. And do you take clients one-on-one as well, or
Not at
not
the
so much?
moment.
Yeah.
I'm happy for people to write to me, to send me stuff, and I can give, little bits of advice here and there. I'm happy to point people in the right direction. But honestly, Menopause Makeover was written for that. So when women do have questions, for $9.95, it's cheaper than talking to me or booking time with me. Buy the book and have those questions answered. Most of them will be answered through these pathways.
Yeah. That's great. I'm really thrilled for you, and I've just learned so much today. just
Yeah.
who you're talking, and it's that holistic thing again of,
Yeah.
mind, body, spirit, everything around us, which is,
Yeah.
is really important. So
And
I'm
I
just going
talk
to,
probably
sorry,
don't talk enough about, sorry, about diet. Like make sure your diet's right. You can't supplement or prescription drug your way out of a bad diet. That's a conversation too. So, make sure you're eating good proteins and fats and how close to nature is the food that you are eating? That's the only question you need to ask.
good question.
Mm.
Let's have a little bit of fun before we
Oh, okay.
finish for the day, because I'm all about that. So I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you some questions. Actually, I don't know if you've ever seen the Actors Studio, and they'll have a famous actor on, and at the end they ask them a series of questions just for
Okay.
some fun. So I'm just going to throw these at you.
All right.
Okay, it's
Ready.
not too painful. Okay, when you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Two things. A teacher, but I suppose I am, but not in the sense that I thought I would be. And a mother. That was it. They were the two biggest things on my agenda. Weird. And I suppose I am both, but not in the way that I thought I would be.
Wonderful. Favorite guilty pleasure?
Favorite guilty pleasure. Um, well, physical and from what I eat, I love dark chocolate. I'm a real dark chocolate fan. I love it. I just have a little bit every night because it makes me feel good and it is my little treat. And my other one is swimming in the ocean. I am, yeah. Yeah. I know that doesn't sound really guilty, does it?
Ah, well, it doesn't have to be guilty, just a pleasure.
Yeah, definitely pleasure.
Okay. Favorite celebrity crush?
Oh, Colin Firth. I've
Mm,
always loved Colin Firth. Yeah, he's always been my celebrity. Oh, and the other one who I suppose before Colin, I think that was probably my more mature crush. My young crush was Keanu Reeves. I
cute.
think, oh my God, he's just gorgeous. Yeah, yeah.
Favorite food?
Thai food.
Mm,
And particularly a dish called som tam Thai, which is the papaya salad. That is one I've grown to absolutely love from all my years traveling to Thailand for many years. Yeah, som tam Thai papaya salad, my absolute. Oh my God, I could eat that till I die every day.
I think I'm going to have to look that one up. I haven't had
I,
that
I
for a long time.
search for it everywhere. My rating of Thai restaurants is how well they make a som tam Thai.
Well, that was my next question. Favorite travel destination?
Mm. I suppose Thailand, because that is somewhere that I go a lot, and that's where I take women for retreats, for fasting retreats, because the people are so beautiful and so helpful, and nothing is too much. And it gives you a really big lesson in gratitude on how happy you can be with less. Thai people don't have a lot, by culturally, by our standards, I suppose that is, but they can teach you a lesson in happiness.
Lovely.
Mm.
And finally, Mona,
Mm.
if your life was made into a movie, who
Hmm.
would you choose to play you?
I think it's pretty easy. Cameron Diaz. I've been told for years that she's my doppelganger. So
Yep.
depending on how I wear my hair or whatever, yeah, Cameron Diaz, love her. I think she's a really cool chick. Really like her.
Gee.
Have a lot of respect for her.
Oh, it's been so much fun. I really enjoyed talking to you today. And I
Thanks,
think
Liz.
I will get you back on again one day soon too, because there's so much to talk about. It doesn't have to
So
all be
much.
about menopause.
Yeah.
Just being us in this era
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
world is
Yeah.
the
Even
whole
just talking about that whole empty nest thing and the emotions that go with it. I mean, that would be a really tough conversation because that would make me tear up. But, you
yeah,
know, because, that's all we want now is to spend time with our adult kids, isn't it?
yeah,
And how precious those times are when we do. And, yeah, how important those relationships are now as we get older.
absolutely. Well, thank you again so much. And
Thanks,
as I said,
Sue.
I'll put links to Mona's website and buy her books. As I said, I've got this one. I've had it, I don't know how many years.
Stood the test of time, but the 2.0 version will be on its way early next year as well.
That's
So
exciting. So I'll share that too when that comes out. So
Thank
have
you.
a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you, you too. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, everyone. I'll see you next time on the Untangling podcast. Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Untangling series podcast. I feel absolutely blessed to be on this journey with you. If you would like more details on where to purchase my book, The Untangling, I've popped the link in the notes below. Perhaps you may feel called to work with me one-on-one to support you in your own untangling. I would love that. I offer my services as a coach to walk you through this process in a unique bespoke program created solely for you because you are unique. Another one of my passions is offering my services as a keynote speaker. I do like engaging with others, as you can probably tell. If any of that is of interest to you, you can contact me directly by the links below or head on over to my website at susiedejeong.com.au and I will get straight back to you, I promise. I love what I do and I know what my purpose is: to pay it forward and help others untangle and find their own freedom and joy. So bye for now, and I look forward to seeing you next time.